All right, I'm gonna admit something that might surprise you. For the first 5 years of running my rental business, I did not have an LLC. Multiple properties, growing income, and zero protection. Why? Because I thought I didn't need one. It wasn't until I sat down with my CPA who looked me straight in the face and said, Jesse, what the hell are you doing? I realized how much I've been flying blind. So today I'm breaking down what I learned and what you need to know about running midterm rentals and wondering whether you need to set up an LLC or not. We're gonna dive right into that right now. Okay, when I first started in the midterm rental space, I wasn't thinking about taxes. I wasn't thinking about putting things in order. In fact, I had zero vernacular when it came to anything around spreadsheets or anything like that. It was actually really new to me. And I think a lot of people that get into real estate, they don't actually think about putting those things together. They don't think about putting spreadsheets together. They sure as hell aren't thinking about putting their bookkeeping together. All those kinds of things I think are so important now that I'm looking back. And for the first 5 years of my business, I ran everything blindly. I wasn't actually paying attention. I had this wool over my face. I was just super focused on creating a business that was going to try to bring in cash flow that I didn't really pay attention to anything else. And I think that a lot of people get started in real estate with that same mindset, the same kind of drive to build something, but aren't necessarily savvy enough or understand business yet to that point, or understand business vernacular to be able to put together spreadsheets that are actually able to track every single expense that's attached to a property. And whether you have one property or two or three, as you start to add more properties up, you start to stack up expenses that happen on a regular basis. And I'm just giving you a couple examples. So when I first started my midterm rental business, we would go to Costco and buy, shampoo, conditioner, all those things. I actually co-mingled my accounts with my business account, my personal account. And I can't tell you how bad this is, and it wasn't until I actually spoke to a CPA that was like, Jess, if you ever get sued or if you ever get audited or if something ever happens and the IRS or somebody falls and breaks their hip in your property and they can see that you're commingling personal accounts with business accounts, they can actually sue you not only just for your business but for your personal assets as well. So that means that 1997 Huffy that I've had in my garage for the last 27 years, that could go out for auction. That could be taken away from me too, because at the end of the day, anything that you connect with your personal or business accounts, if you're commingling those accounts, can set you up for the biggest problem. I think this is where I really start to realize that a lot of people that get into this space don't necessarily have those two things together, and I can't tell you how important it is to do that. After 5 years of running my business, so 2015 to 2020, I ran as a sole proprietor. And in 2020, I finally sat down with a CPA that knew what the hell they were doing, because a lot of us, myself included, this is exactly what happened. I just went to a general CPA, basically like H&R Block, but even dumber. They just gave me basic stuff, said, here's where you go, here, do this, do that. And at that point, I had a high W-2 earning job, but it wasn't until I sat down with an actual real estate CPA that sat down and said, hey, Jess, you can't mix these things up. Like, you actually have to be very thoughtful on it. You need to make sure that every property has its own account. You're not just throwing everything into one income base and running it out of your own personal account. And that's when I realized, like, damn, I could have really been screwed over. I could have really had something happen to me that was unfortunate if I didn't meet this CPA that was a real estate professional. Okay, so here's what actually sold me on setting up an LLC. Number one, liability protection. This is the biggest one for me, and it's the biggest peace of mind. An LLC will separate your personal assets from your business properties or your business assets. So if anything is to go wrong, your personal stuff is protected, and that's huge for me, especially as I kept adding more properties. Number two, cleaner finances. With an LLC, I could finally separate my personal and business finances. No more guessing about personal spending versus business expenses. And trust me, I did that all the time. That's one of the perks about owning a business, but you have to keep the two separate. This stuff actually made my tax season so much easier, and that's what I didn't understand when I first started. I was really just kind of piecing everything together. I didn't even really think about taxes because it was my first time running an actual legitimate business, but obviously I wasn't running it like an actual legitimate business. And this actually takes me to number three, which is scaling my business. I realized that if I wanted to grow, I needed to treat this like an actual real business. So having an LLC made me look more professional, sort of. When I was working with contractors, vendors, or future partners, like, they need to see that you actually have a business license rather than just being like Jesse Sole Prop LLC, or actually, it's not even an LLC. I'm just a regular dude trying to pretend to be an LLC. I think that's important because you need to have those business people that you're working with, whether it's contractors or folks in the market, they need to know that you actually are running like a legitimate business. Number four, tax benefits. My CPA showed me how to use an LLC and how it could actually give me more options so that I could actually save on taxes, which could give me more money at the end of tax season, especially as your income starts to grow. LLCs do provide definitely the opportunity to outweigh your taxes, and there's things you can write off that you wouldn't necessarily be able to write off as a sole proprietor. Whether you've got an LLC or not, the key to running a professional midterm rental business is about staying organized. That's where TurboTenant's REI Hub comes in. It lets you track income and expenses automatically by linking your bank account. Separate personal and business finances even if you're just getting started without an LLC. LLC. Generate reports like profit and loss statements, Schedule E, so that you can be ready for tax season. Get real estate specific tools no matter if you're a sole proprietor or running as an LLC. Trust me, tools like this make it a huge difference. If I had something like TurboTenant when I started, I probably wouldn't have wasted so many years and made so many things a mess at the beginning of my first few years of starting my real estate business. So why did it take me 5 years to figure it out? Honestly, I thought it was too complicated. I didn't want to deal with the paperwork, the cost, the hassle. But looking back now, not only was it way riskier and it made everything harder in the long run, if I can go back, I'd set up an LLC the minute I started to scale. And that would have been year 2. So you're probably thinking to yourself, I have one property. This is exactly what you want to do, even if you've only got one property or even 2. Starting with the right foundation can save you so much stress later, and I wish honestly that I did that from the very beginning. But the other piece of this puzzle is that there was no software out available in 2015 that was specific to, like TurboTenant. This is where you're able to actually get, they just acquired a company called REI Hub. So essentially it's able to track all of your business expenses, all these certain things into that one specific account. And I think it's pretty cool because not only am I able to do my leases, I'm able to do my background checks. Everything is actually done through that one hub. And I can't tell you how important that is, because if you have spreadsheets here, QuickBooks here, all these different things happening at one time, it makes it incredibly difficult to start to manage all your properties and do all the things if you have all these different platforms that you're going into on a regular basis. And that's why I think it's super awesome that TurboTenant is putting together tools and acquiring new businesses like REI Hub, where now you can do your expenses, you can put your leases together, your background checks, everything's done in one spot. You can even check on TurboTenant how much your rental property can earn as a long-term rental. And I think that's pretty cool. So there's just all these new tools that are coming out to make your lives easier if you're starting to build a rental business, whether it's short-term, long-term, midterm. It doesn't matter. These tools need to be put together the exact same way. And I can't tell you now how important that is. And after being in business for almost 9 years, almost 10 years actually, and I'm just 5 years into doing this, I can't tell you guys how important it is to start and to be able to use tools like, again, TurboTenant, who sponsored this video. That's what we use. I've been using them on a regular basis and I feel comfortable enough with them. For those of you that have 1 or 2 properties, you're on the fence, like, do I even need an LLC? I would tell you to talk to a CPA, and I wish that I did it a lot sooner, because at the end of the day, if you set those foundations down the right way, if you set things down in a way that you can continue to grow and scale, not only is that gonna make it easier for you and the people that are around you and the contractors you're working with, it just makes everything way, way easier. In fact, if you have a contractor now and you send an invoice to them, they automatically have to put in their W-9 information, which is so important, because at the end of the year, you got to hunt them down to get a W-9 anyway. So it's just really important to put those things together in perspective as soon as you get started, because it makes things so much easier. And I wish that somebody actually sat me down and said those exact same things from the very get-go. All right, here's the takeaway. If you're running midterm rentals and you're starting to grow, don't make the same mistakes that I did. Talk to your CPA, figure out if LLC makes sense for you, and set up systems to keep your finances clean from day one. And if you're not ready for an LLC yet, no worries. Just make sure you're tracking your expenses and staying organized with tools like TurboTenant. It makes your life so much easier and you're set up for success. Hit the link in the description and learn more about TurboTenant's REI Hub. One of the other things that I want to make sure that I mention on here is in April of next year, 2025, I'm hosting one of the biggest summits of the year in the midterm rental space. In fact, it is the biggest summit of the year. I'm gonna have a headliner like Dan Martell, who wrote the book Buy Back Your Time. And during those 3 days, we're gonna have many, many investors from all over the US come to one spot and learn all about midterm rentals. So I'd love for you to be able to join us. I'm gonna leave a link down below in the descriptions to get a ticket for that event, which is in San Diego, April 27th to 29th. Trust me, you guys are definitely gonna wanna be there. There's gonna be about 1,000 people, and we've sold out every year since. So make sure to get your ticket. If you've got questions about LLCs, midterm rentals, or anything else, drop them in the comments. I'm here to help. All right, that's it. We'll see you guys in the next one. Cut to Jesse on camera holding up his hands.